It's Tuesday. That means it's time for the NFL Stableford League Power Ranking Show. It's Lefty79, the commissioner of the NFL Stableford League, coming at you on Tuesday, September 28th, 2021. And we had another exciting week of NFL Stableford action this past week. And there's a lot of changes in these rankings. And I'm going to have all of them for you here shortly. I'm starting on the Patriots, but that is not the number 32 team, so do not worry, Franz. But hey, it's been a pretty eventful week over the last couple days, actually, the last 24 hours. Uh, Even though this league is not affiliated with the TGC Tours staff or HB Studios, we use their forums and we use the game to play this league, and there's been some significant changes regarding the master swing setting. It seems like things have gotten a little bit more forgiving in terms of the scoring is definitely going to be affected. I can see points going up from here on out. Um, no duffs as much in the bunkers, and you're going to see a short game that's going to be a little bit more open for some close shots in the red zone, and the drives should be a little bit more forgiving as well when you don't exactly hit that perfect tempo. So it's looking like some good changes happened in the last day. Um, I know everybody's pretty busy now that the tours are back up and running as of Sunday. So I hope everybody's enjoying that as well. But this is the NFL Stableford League. We're hard hitting action. A lot of close games this past week, and now every team in the league has a win. So you always like to see that. There's been some seasons where it took a whole year to have everybody get a win, but we're there already, and we're heading into week 4. That tells you how close this league really is right now, and the fact that we only have 2 undefeated teams now heading into week 4. I mean, I haven't heard of that. I mean, usually we have at least 6 or 7 undefeated teams. Still, we've had a few teams undefeated darn near the entire year. So every week it's just crazy in this league, and I want to give a shout out to all the players. 100% participation for the first 3 weeks. Have had 0 point scores. Everybody has reported a score. And that, to me, in the first 3 seasons of this league, that's unheard of. We had people dropping out, in early days because they didn't know if they could handle the schedule, or they weren't not knowing what they were signed up for. But everybody in this league, I think, knows what they got themselves into, and we're gonna get right into week 3 after week 3 power rankings. That's what we're getting ourselves into today. And we're going to start at number 32. Now, probably one of the best Twitch streamers in the league, and unfortunately had a rough one at home on Thursday Night Football. And you hate to see it, but it's the Houston Texans. Paul, I know, kind of had a self-fulfilling prophecy with how he felt after his first week game and that big win that he had. Seems like a long time ago now, as the Texans just had a hard time at home against the Panthers in a 26-20 loss. They're now 1-2. The Texans were 25th last week, and now they dropped 7 spots into the basement. Now the Texans will go to Buffalo to play the resurgent Bills, who are coming off a big win in week 3. The Bills are 1-2. I think if this master setting affects Xbox users as much as it has the PS4 users, I think Paul's in for a bounce back. I really do. I think he gets a 4-point handicap the way it is. If Paul just scores in the low 20s, he's got a chance to win every week. And I just think, like, he's just got to avoid those mid-teen scores, or those mid like 15 to 18 is not really where you want to be if you have a 4 point handicap. But if you're getting the 20s, you're going to have a shot to win every week. So I just think with Paul and his streaming and his, I know he's going to turn this around, and I think he's at least going to give the Bills all they can handle in week 4. And now we head on up to number 31, a team that's kind of difficult to figure out, but they just struggled again this past week. It's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now the Buccaneers are 1-2. Last week they were 29th in the rankings. They dropped 2 spots. They only lost by 2 points on the road at LA at the LA Rams, 26-24. Good effort. I'd like to see that. The Buccaneers, it just seems like they're running into that ceiling in the low 20s, and they get a 2 point handicap, but it just seems to be not enough to get them over the hump. But the thing is, they're in the NFC South, and that's a wide open division. Both South divisions are pretty much wide open. The AFC South as well, with Paul. Like, both these teams at the bottom have a shot in their division. They're not out of it by any means, but it's just the scoring totals, and you'd like to see them put a little bit more points on the board, and that's the only reason why they're this low in the rankings. Next, the Buccaneers. Well, it's the big game of the week. It's going to be on Sunday Night Football. The Buccaneers will go to New England to face the 2-1 Patriots. Tom Brady's homecoming in real life, but in NFL Stableford, it's going to be a smash mouth game between two teams that are looking to just keep the ball rolling. As if the Buccaneers can get a win, they're going to be right at the top of their division, and the Patriots, they want to stay with that undefeated Miami Dolphins team that's leading the AFC East right now. And we'll get to that team a little bit later on here in this countdown, in the power rankings countdown here. But next, we head to number 30. And who will it be? It's the Cleveland Browns. Now, the Browns had a significant drop this week. They dropped from 22 down to number 30, an 8-spot drop. The Browns are 1-2. A tough loss at home to the Bears. They lost in overtime. It was 24-24 heading in, and the Bears ended up getting the tiebreaker and the touchdown to take the win, 30-24. Not indicative. The Browns have been playing well. This is not indicative of how they've been really playing. It's just these rankings are very volatile right now, with a lot of teams moving up and down, and a lot of like who is supposed to be good is not really good right now, and who has been surprising has moved up a lot. So the Browns are just getting a read on right now, but 1-2 is not bad. But that AFC South, that AFC North is going to be difficult, and the Browns, I think they got to be looking at a wild card. But what they need to be looking at is just just improving on those points totals every week. But right now they have to go to Minnesota, the 3-0 Minnesota Vikings, on the road. They were the number 1 ranked team last week, and we'll see what happens on the road at that difficult place to play at US Bank Stadium. The Packers know all about that place, and the Vikings are going to give it all they can at their place. And if the Browns can somehow pull one out there, I could definitely see them moving up this chart and continuing to build on some success. But right now, the Browns find themselves in 30th. Not a death sentence, but they'll definitely keep wanting to improve, and the sooner the better, because that AFC North is not going to get any easier as the teams beat each other up in that division as the weeks go by. But next, we'll move on to number 29. It's the New Orleans Saints of Greg. 29th, down 2 spots. Kind of a difficult road game at the Patriots that they lost 20-19. Difficult place to play on the road is New England, and I think Greg put up a good fight. Just wasn't quite enough, and I think the points are at a premium right now. I think in New Orleans, I think There might be a little bit of struggle going on there, but I see the Saints turning it around. They're in a wide open division, as I said earlier, with the NFC South being all all at 1 and 2 and all having their share of struggles. And but next the Saints have a tough one as they have to play the New York Giants, and that'll be at home at least. They'll have it at home. But the Giants are also 1 and 2. Now this is a pivotal game, I believe, for the Giants as uh, they've been playing well, but they just don't have the results to show for it. And I think the Saints, if they can put together a big home performance, they will move right into 500, and they'll be right at the top of their division as well. So all is not lost in New Orleans. Definitely early days yet, and the Saints could definitely go marching up this list if they can get a big win at home against the G-Men of Don Tagrocket. But next we'll go to number 28. A team I know pretty well. It's the Green Bay Packers. Uh, a tough loss on the road at San Francisco. A 16 spot drop for Green Bay. They were 12th last week, but after some of the abysmal performances they've been putting out there the last few weeks, I believe it's a well-deserved drop. Losing 23-20 at San Francisco. Packers are now 1 and 2. Just couldn't get anything going on the road. Just seemed like they were struggling. A lot of bad swings, a lot of bad misses in the red zone, and the Packers have got a lot of film to watch and a lot of things to clean up. But next they'll have a chance to do that at home against the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are 2-1. That's going to be a difficult one. Uh, that will be Pat Strife coming in off a loss, trying to get back in the win column, whereas Green Bay is going to be home and hoping that the home cooking tastes good, as right now the Packers are in a 2-game losing streak and not really feeling too good right now, but we'll see what happens. It's a 1 week it's a 1-0 mentality in Green Bay now. You can't look too far ahead with this schedule, and you got to just take it week by week now. So that's the Green Bay Packers at number 28. As we move on up the list to number 27, it's the Las Vegas Raiders. 16 spot drop for them as well from number 11. Tough loss at home to the undefeated Dolphins of Cade, who did play this week. Welcome back to Cade. Chinatown had a rough one. Just seemed like never really got anything going at home. Just trying to recapture that magic of week one, and it just seems to not be happening. The Raiders are at 1 and 2. Just a game out in the AFC West, so they're not completely out of it, but it just seems like the points aren't really there, and the offense is a little bit stuck in neutral. After that one great half in the first week, it just seems like it's been they've been in a little bit of a malaise and haven't really been able to get things going. But they're going to need to try to get things going, as they will be going to the LA Chargers, the 2-1 LA Chargers, in a division rival game that could definitely be a big tiebreaker later on in the AFC West. I see that being a really good game. I think Chinatown is a Charger fan at heart, and I know it'll be tough on him to try to beat his hometown team, but at the same time, you're competing and you're having a big division rival game early on in the season is a good barometer to see where you're at as a team, and I think the Raiders are better than what they've been playing, and I think they're in for a turnaround, and the 27th rank could just be a temporary thing here, as I could see Chinatown getting on a run and going back to how things were in week one. But now we move on to number 26. This is probably the highest this team's been in a long time. It's the Carolina Panthers. Now, Josiah's been playing pretty darn good golf these days, and, well, he's been playing good Stableford as well. As the Panthers come in at 1-2. They're off the schneid. They got their first win. Uh, by beating Paul at Houston, 26-20. The Panthers were 30th last week. They move up 4 spots. This is big for Carolina, as this puts them in a really good spot in the NFC South, a division that could really go to any one of those 4 teams. And the Panthers, they're used to where their home stadium is they're very familiar with their surroundings. But the fact that they took their effort out on the road and played as well as they did, that's a new thing, I think, for them. I think they're getting a little bit more confidence with the league. The coach is starting to call some better plays, and I think it's starting to come together here in year 3 of this regime. So we'll see what happens as the Panthers now go to Dallas, who had one of the shocking upsets of Week 3, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But Dallas is 1-2, so we'll see which Dallas team shows up in Week 4. But the Panthers have been showing up every week, it seems, and they're in every game. They had a really heartbreaking overtime loss to the Saints. That's been their only blip. Uh, really, that could have been a win for them, but the Panthers confirmed it on this past week by beating the Houston Texans on the road by a pretty good margin. So kudos to the Panthers on their 26th rank, and we'll see who number 25 is. It's the Detroit Lions. Now the Lions were 15th last week. They dropped 10 spots. Very volatile. I don't think the Lions are this low. Really, I think they're just having some struggles at home. Uh, maybe the stadium just isn't to their liking. Maybe the crowd just isn't getting as into the games as they should be at home. But it seems like this is the lowest I believe the Lions have been in a long time. And they lost at home 28-25 to the Ravens. Now, it wasn't a 66-yard field goal that did them in this week, but it just seemed like it was a culmination of a bunch of events that just they weren't able to get over the hump against the Ravens team that knows that they're in a tough division and they have to play lights out Stableford week in and week out in that AFC North. But the Lions now have a chance to get right back into the thick of it in the NFC North as they now play at Chicago week 4, and Chicago is 2-1 and moving up fast in these rankings, as we'll find out later. Now this is America's game of the week, as these two teams have a definite rivalry. Maybe not as vaunted as some of the other rivalries in the NFC North, but the Lions and the Bears get together, and usually some fireworks will happen. And I think the Lions are just going to have to find a way to get things to where they were last year, where they were running very well. It just seems like in the Motor City things aren't really the gears are sticking right now. It just doesn't seem like things are clicking quite as well as they were a season ago in the Motor City. So we'll see if the Lions are able to pull one out in week 4 and get right back up the list here. But that's the Detroit Lions in 25th. Next, we move up to number 24. And it's the Atlanta Falcons. Now, this is a team that is an enigma. I'm not exactly sure what to think of the Atlanta Falcons, as they are 1-2. They were 10th last week. They're dropping 14 spots as they laid a stinker at the New York Giants, 28-16. 16 points is, that's whoa, that's no bueno right there. Not really sure what to think right now with the Falcons. They're in the NFC South, they have that going for them, which is nice. And we'll see if they can parlay that into a win this week, as now the schedule is getting easier, as now they have to go face the Washington football team at home. The football team coming off a loss this past week, and they are not going to be happy, as they are also 1-2. Now I see the Falcons just they gotta find their center. I think they had a couple tough weeks already so far, and I just think if they can get into the mid 20s again, like where they were earlier in the year, I think they'll be fine. But it just seems like they've had a couple rush performances that just weren't really very good. And well, with Matt Ryan getting up in age, I mean, you never know. Maybe it's just time to make some changes on offense and maybe switch things up a little bit. But definitely after putting only 16 up against the top level team like the Giants, the G-men just took them to task, and the Falcons took a tumble all the way down to 24th. So we'll see if Ruby can turn this thing around. As we head to number 23, another precipitous drop here. It's the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now this is a shock to me. As Corey, very good player. The Jaguars are 1-2. They dropped from the fifth spot all the way down to 23. That's an 18 spot drop. Now, I'm not going to say it's because you lost to Art or lost to the Arizona Cardinals at home 24 to 22 because there was a lot of other, rough losses in this week. But I just think looking at the overall picture and seeing how other teams have been doing, I just think the Jaguars just need a spark, and I think right now this might be what could be a catalyst for them. As now they go into a tough matchup at Cincinnati, who are 2-1, and on another cat team that is going to be this is going to be a cat fight. This is going to be the Jaguars and the Bengals, two teams that you know don't really have. The last time these teams I think played a rivalry game was probably when they were both in the AFC Central together back in the day when there was 6 teams in that division, which that would have probably been in the mid 90s. So it's been a while, but they're gonna make an acquaintance again this week, and I see it being a very good game. Even though the Jaguars are in 23rd, the loss to Art hurt. I mean, that definitely played a factor, but they're in a wide open division. The AFC South is very wide open, as there's a couple Xbox players in there. And then you also got the Jaguars, and then you got the yeah, you, you got a very wide open division. That's all there is to it. And we haven't mentioned the Titans yet. That's another Xbox player. That's our buddy Platypus Brigade, who we will be mentioning soon. And we also got B-Mel's in that division, who is also an Xbox player. So that's basically like the Xbox division other than Corey. And so if Corey gets on a roll, we'll see what happens. But with these changes to the swing, the Xbox may not be as a big of an disadvantage as maybe they would have been 3 weeks ago. So things change by the week, it seems. So we'll see what happens. As we move on to number 22, and I just mentioned B-Mel's, it is the Indianapolis Colts. 22nd ranked. They are 1-2. They were 18th last week. They dropped 4 spots after a tough loss on the road at Tennessee, 25-24. Gave it all they could. That was a battle of Xbox players right there. That was Platypus versus B-Mel's. B-Mel's had a huge first week. I'll never forget that week where he put 30 points on the board. I know he's a solid player. I think the Colts just kind of have run into a little bit of bad luck with some of the points not going their way. And I think that the fact that they're in also the AFC South still have an opportunity. It's way early. It's so early yet. I mean, we're not even close to being. We're not even a third of the way through the schedule yet. But you want to get some wins early, and if you want to really make a statement, you'll make a statement this week if you can beat the Dolphins in Miami, who are 3-0. Now, let's not get the champagne yet, Mercury Morris. Let's chill out a little bit. Dan Marino, like you're not undefeated. It's only 3-0, but you can't look past the Colts, as I think B Mills has an opportunity here to really make get a big statement win and move himself up these rankings. But we'll see if the horseshoe can beat the Dolphin in week number 4. As we head to number 21, the team that just beat those Indianapolis Colts this past week, it is the Flaming Thumbtacks of the Tennessee Titans. Number 21, they are 1-2. They were 31st last week. They move up 10 spots. Now, that's a significant jump. But they beat a team in their division, which really helped. And there was some volatility in these rankings due to other teams not playing so well. And the Titans played pretty solid. They had 25 points at home at a tough place to play in Nashville. A 25-24 win against a quality opponent in the Colts. And I think it's a deserved ranking. I mean, it could be a little bit lower, but at the same time, this is my opinion, and that's what it's going to be. And 21 isn't the worst. A 10-point jump for beating a division rival in a live match where there's a lot more pressure on the line just shows me that you got the stuff to get the job done. And hey, you're right in the thick of the AFC South now. At the same time, you have to keep this momentum going now as the Titans now play at the New York Jets, another team who has had some struggles lately. They're 1-2, and it's definitely there for the taking for the Titans if they keep going, and if they can parlay that effort from that live game into next week against the Jets, which will not be live as the Jets are on a different platform. But we'll see if Platypus can get the brigade going again in week number 4. As the next team on this countdown is the team I just mentioned. Kind of funny how that works sometimes, is the 20th place team. It's the New York Football Jets. The New York Jets come in at 1-2. They dropped 7 spots from 13 last week. A tough loss on the road at Denver, 26-24. I think it's a culmination of the last couple weeks with the Jets that things haven't been going maybe as well for them. I don't think they're going to be this low going forward. I think the Jets are going to definitely get the engines running again and raise their level a little bit. But I just think with a loss at home, that loss they had at home, coupled with this loss on the road, it's just, you don't want to lose too many, but at the same time, it's still early on, and the AFC East, it's still not out of the picture yet. I mean, yeah, they're 2 games out now, but it's still early yet, and I feel like the Jets are going to start playing some pretty good Stableford here in October, November, when things start to heat up a little bit here. But next, the Jets will go to Tennessee. Actually, they'll host Tennessee, which that'll be big for them. The Jets know that the Jets have a pretty good home field advantage. Usually, maybe it didn't show up a couple weeks ago, but I think this week is a get right week for the Jets as they will play the Titans, who are 1-2, and it's a team they're just above in the rankings. So if you want to stay, keep moving up the rankings, beat the teams that are below you, and that'll be how you get the job done. But we move on now to number 19. Who will it be? How about them Dallas Cowboys? At number 19, a big jump for them from the basement at number 32. They move up 13 spots to number 19. Why? Well, they put up 30 points at home against Philadelphia in week 3 to win 30-29. That really flew under the radar, as that was kind of a late result, but it was a big result as the Eagles were riding pretty high heading in to week 3, and the Eagles thought they had that locked up, and the Cowboys basically said, we'll lasso that one right back in. And that ended up being a big win for the Cowboys in the NFC East, as that was a division rival that they had to beat. So that put them right back into the thick of things. And with a 30-point game, that's always going to get my attention, and as well it should to everybody else in the league as well. So now, can the Cowboys continue that momentum as they now host the Carolina Panthers, who are 1-2? This is going to be a good game. This is not the same Carolina Panthers team, folks. You just can't look past this team every week now. These guys are here to play every week, and the Cowboys could just as easily slide right back down if they have another stinker like they did in the first couple weeks. So we'll see what happens if this 19th ranking is uh, correct or if it's way over, way over the mark. We'll find out. But that game against the Panthers will be interesting, nevertheless. So that was number 19 and the Dallas Cowboys. And now we head on to number 18. The team that the Cowboys beat a couple times in the Super Bowl, it's the Buffalo Bills. Now the Buffalo Bills come in 18th this week. They're 1-2. They were 24th last week. They move up 6 spots on the heels of a win against the Washington Football Team at home, 27-23. They basically put the football team through a table. That's exactly what the Bills needed to do, and it put them right back into the AFC East hunt. Now the Bills will end up facing the Houston Texans in Week 4, the 1-2 Texans. It's a good opportunity for both teams to make a statement, but the Bills, with that 27-point performance, beating the football team, that was a little bit of a surprise to me that the football team wasn't able to overcome that. But Bills Mafia just took out the kneecaps, and that was pretty much all she wrote for the football team. And now can the Bills, now with their first win of the season, can they parlay that into some more success here? And I think they have a great opportunity to get right back to 500 with the Texans in town this week at Orchard Park. We'll see if the wing can take flight and get that job done. As we now head to number 17. Now, this is an anomaly in the rankings, as this doesn't normally happen. But these guys have been playing really good Stableford and not getting the wins to show for it. It's the Seattle Seahawks at number 17. The Seahawks were 21st last week, and they're 1-2, and they moved up 4 spots, even though they lost 28-25 on the road at Minnesota. But the thing is, the Seahawks, I think they've been underranked this whole season so far, because I look at their points for total, and they got over 80 points. I mean, what the heck? I mean, they must have run into some buzzsaws the last couple of weeks, and it just have nothing to show for it. It's like losing in overtime every game. It's heart wrenching. And the Seahawks, I just feel like they're gonna break out, and it could start right now in Week 4 against the San Francisco 49ers, their division rival, on the road. The Niners are 2-1, but really probably haven't looked the best at 2-1. So it's a tenuous situation, I think, there in San Fran. But at the end of the day, it all matters. The wins and losses are all that matters. So the 49ers are not going to apologize for that. So, but the Seattle Seahawks, an interesting case. They're at number 17. If you don't like it, fight me. But now we move on to the middle of the countdown, and we're right dead center in the middle. And we have ourselves an Art Vandelay sandwich again this week, as he is the center of the sandwich, the latex importer-exporter himself, the Arizona Cardinals, 2-1 after a mild upset, to say the least, on the road at Jacksonville. The Cardinals were 28th heading into this week, and they move up 12 spots. They basically go right back to where they were after week 2. Which, funny how that works, but if you get the job done on the road against a team like Jacksonville, who is definitely one of the AFC favorites, or was a preseason favorite, that moves you up on my list, and that's exactly what happened. But now the Cardinals will have to take the show on the road again at the Rams, the 2-1 Rams, and it'll be on Monday Night Football. Now, these are two opponents that know these are two teams that know each other pretty well, as the Cardinals and the Rams got together late in the season last year, and the Cardinals were able to pull one out to get to that NFC West championship, to pull out that NFC West championship and get that playoff berth. But now there's a little bit more on the line, as it looks like, the division lead is also on the line here early on in the season. So there'll definitely be it could be contentious, but very good rivals. But it's the NFC West, so you know it's maybe a little bit more laid back than some of the other rivalries, but it could heat up. Kyler, you get a Hail Murray or two Hail Murray versus Stafford. It's gonna be lit, I think, and if they play it live, even it'll be even more so, because I could see a lot of eyes on that game with with a couple of 2-1 teams facing off on Monday Night Football. But now we head up the list to number 15. Now, this is the highest this team has been all season long, and they've been quietly moving up week by week. It's Franz and the New England Patriots. The Patriots come in at 2-1. They were 26th last week. They move up 11 spots. Not really sure why I moved them up so much, but I think it's just because with the Patriots, it's just that they play at a tough environment. So I don't think their point totals are going to be quite as high as some of the other teams, and I think that was intentional. But they won 20-19 at home against the Saints, which you want to take care of business at home. And I know they had just beaten the Jets after week 2, so I think the Patriots were a little bit underranked. They were within a game in the AFC East. They're knocking on the door there. If the Dolphins were to stumble, they'd be right there to take the lead in that division. And I just feel like with Franz, you know he's gonna put up a decent score, and you know he doesn't get any handicap, but he's also playing a very difficult environment, and knows how to get the job done there. Even though he didn't do that in week 1, but I think now things are sorted out a little bit more. As now the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, in the return of Brady on Sunday Night Football, as the Buccaneers will come in at 1-2 in week 4. Now that's a big matchup for the Patriots to get to bring Brady back into town. I see Franz having a good game here. I think he'll be juiced up for this one. The Buccaneers really need to bring it. It's going to be tough, as going into New England, it's always a tough place to play. And the Buccaneers, hey, they got a lot to play for too. I mean, they're in a 4-way tie in the NFC South right now. So definitely, if you could take a win off of New England, that would be a huge thing for them. But the Patriots check in at number 15, and after a big jump this week. Next, we head to number 14, and a team I mentioned a little bit earlier, the San Francisco 49ers. They did not go anywhere this week. They stayed at 14. They won at home 23-20 in overtime against Green Bay. They're 2-1, and they are also tied in the lead for the NFC West. So the 49ers probably have not played their best Stableford since the season began. The one win they had, I believe they had 22 points at Philadelphia, which was a very close game. I just think the 49ers could be overranked right now, but you can't downgrade a team for winning. So at the same time, they're winning ugly. And that's okay. The wins are piling up, and they're still, leading in the NFC West. But now that could all come crashing down as they now travel to Seattle, their bitter division rivals in the NFC West, who are 1-2. Now this is going to be the game where I think it's all going to go out. It's all the warts are going to get exposed in this one. If the Niners have a stinker, the Seahawks are going to roll them, in my opinion. But if the 49ers can get it right, this could be a classic. And we'll see what happens as the Seahawks definitely want to get back to 500 after some of the hard luck they've had the first few weeks of this season. But next, we move on to number 13, lucky number 13, and it's another NFC West team. It's the Los Angeles Rams. They're 2-1. Kevin's got them playing pretty well right now. They just moved up 10 spots. They were 23rd last week. A big jump for them as they move into the top half of this rankings for the first time in a long time. The Rams won 26-24 against Tampa Bay. So life imitated art. Well, not Art Vandelay, but art itself. As the Buccaneers just could not get the job done in LA. So now the Rams, as mentioned earlier, will face the Cardinals at home on Monday Night Football, and that's going to be another knockdown dragout in the NFC West. So we'll see what happens there, as we talked a lot about that matchup a little bit earlier with Arizona. But kudos to the Rams on getting into the top half of the rankings, and we'll see if they can continue the climb after that game on Monday Night Football this week against the Cardinals. Now we're heading to number 12. And it's the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens are checking in at 2-1 after a big win at Detroit. They were 16th last week. They move up 4 spots. The Ravens are clicking right now. They're playing really well. Getting a 28-25 win is, that's what you want to do, especially when you're playing an NFC foe in interconference battle. But still, they kept pace in the AFC North. That was huge, as the AFC North is going to be contentious all year long, and now there's a logjam there. So we'll see. We got a lot of 2-1 teams in that division that are going to be jostling for position all season long. But next, the Ravens will go to Denver, another 2-1 team, and that'll be a national game on CBS. As this one's gonna be a good one. Denver's been playing pretty solid these days. They're also 2-1, and they'll be playing at home. So can the Ravens get used to the altitude, or will the Broncos stampede right through them? Well, we'll see what happens. I see that being a very good game, and maybe a slight edge to Denver because they're at home. But hey, the Ravens could definitely soar, and that's quote lefty, nevermore. As we go to number 11, it's the Ravens' rival, the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are dropping 7 spots this week from number 4. The Steelers are 2-1. They lost a tough one at home to the Bengals, and they got a 30-burger put on them, 30-25. Now that's tough. I mean, the Steel Curtain has started off the season very, very solid. I see this being a slight drop due to some of the other volatility in the rankings. There's some teams that have scored a little bit more points than the Steelers did in the first few weeks, and that explains a little bit of the drop as well. But I don't think they have really anything to worry about, as now they go to Green Bay, a team that's really struggling right now to put one foot in front of the other, and really just having a hard time the Packers are 1-2, and they look pretty lost right now. So we'll see if the Steelers can continue sending Green Bay down the list, as I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to have a lot to prove this week, and Packers are going to have to pack a lunch, as they're going to have a hard time this week, I think, with the Steel Curtain coming in. And the Steeler in a terrible towels all over Lambeau Field. As we head to number 10, and we hit the top 10, it is the Los Angeles Chargers. They're 2-1. Tough loss at Kansas City, 28-27. Just got nipped there at the end. The Chargers were 7th last week. They dropped 3 spots. Top 10 worthy, in my opinion, due to the fact that they've been putting up a lot of points this year, and they barely lost to a division rival on the road, and that could have gone either way. Next, the Chargers continue the run through the AFC West as they play at home against the Raiders, who are 1-2. Now, the AFC West is a tough division, and the Raiders are going to definitely do all they can on the road to try to get back to 500. I just see the Chargers. There seems to be a newfound swag to the Chargers this year. It's good to see a team like the Chargers, who have been kind of irrelevant in the league for a while, make a big run like this. And now the question is, can they do it against a team that they probably are favored to beat? I think the Chargers are not going to catch anyone by surprise anymore, as I think they are for real. And I think Kansas City found that out in week 3. So we'll see if the Raiders can knock them down a notch, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. The Chargers 3-1 would look really great, and we'll see if that moment if they can bring back the winning feeling the first couple weeks that they had. Next, we go to number 9. The number 9th place team here in the power rankings after week 3 is the Washington football team. Big drop for them this week as they are 1-2. They were second last week and they dropped 7 spots down to number 9 as they lost 27-23 at Buffalo. Tough loss for Zach. Football team maybe just got thrown off their game a little bit with the Bills Mafia lurking in the background. Never an easy place to play in Buffalo. And I just feel like the football team, they've been putting up a lot of points the first few weeks, and this past week was the first week where they just kind of looked ordinary. And but in the NFC East, you really can't be, because that is a tough division week in and week out. So yeah, the football team's going to probably be regretting that one for a while, but can't really regret it too long, as now they have to go to Atlanta, a team that's really having some issues, who's at 1-2. Now, if you're the football team, you just want to walk in and you want to treat it as a business trip. Don't get too sentimental about it. Atlanta is nice this time of year, but at the same time, it's like Atlanta is dangerous right now as well. Like they're 1-2, just like you are, and are looking to try to get back in their division race. And the football team, if they can do what they were doing the first couple weeks and get back on it again, I think they'll be just fine, as they have to be slightly favored in that one. And now we move up to number 8, a team that the football team know pretty well. It's Don Tagrocket and the New York Football Giants. The G-Men come in at number 8. They were 9th last week. They move up 1 spot. The Giants are 1-2 as well. They won 28-16 against Atlanta. That was a drubbing at home. Next, they will play at New Orleans, another team that, is going to probably have a tough go of it. But I see Greg putting up a fight. The Saints can be feisty at home, and the Packers found that out in week 1, that it was not the easiest place to play. And a couple bounces could go the other way. We'll see what happens. But the Giants are a top 10 team. They've been putting up the points. It's just they've run into some tough rival games that they dropped early on in the season. And if the Giants can get right back to where they were, if they keep putting up 28 points a game, they're not going to have any issues going forward. But the New York Giants check in at number 8 and stay in the top 10 another week. And now we head on to number 7, a new entrant into the top 10. Who can it be? It's Kike and the Kansas City Chiefs at number 7. Checking in from the 17th spot last week. They move up 10 spots. The Chiefs are 2-1. Just mentioned earlier, they had a big 28-27 win at home against the LA Chargers, who came in undefeated and left with their first loss. Now the Chiefs will go to Andy Reid's former team, the Philadelphia Eagles. The Chiefs at the Eagles in Week 4. That's going to be a matchup and a half right there. The winner should definitely get a cheeseburger for that. As the Eagles are 2-1 as well, and this is going to be a big early game for both of these teams. An interconference rival game, an interconference game with a little bit of extra added mustard to it. It'll be interesting to see what happens in this one, as the Eagles probably it's the Eagles and the Chiefs have a lot in common. Their stadiums are both built by the same guy, so there's going to be some architectural things there. There's going to be some different, some things going on there, and I just see it being a very good game, and whoever wins it is going to be in good shape in their respective division. I'll just leave it at that. I'll go politically correct there. I really don't want to call a winner there. It's just going to be it's going to be a darn good game. Let's just put it that way. It'll be a slobber knocker with some barbecue sauce on top of it, if we keep the cheeseburger theme going. All right, as we head down to number 6, who will it be? It's the Denver Broncos. I kind of thought about this one a little bit. The Broncos did win against the Jets at home, which was a big win for them. But it wasn't enough for me to quite move them up the rankings, as last week they were 6th, and they stay at 6. And that's okay. When you're in the top 6, life is good, especially in the AFC, which is a very tough conference this season, and in the AFC West, which is a tough division. So the Broncos kept pace by beating a team that, they probably should have beaten at home. I mean, don't want to poo-poo the Jets too much, but the Jets have been struggling a little bit, and they'll get it sorted out. But the Broncos next will take on the Ravens on CBS in the game mentioned earlier, and that'll be another huge AFC. That's a huge AFC matchup early on in the season. Another one that can go either way. Really too close to call for this one. But Denver, being at home against Baltimore, may have the slight edge with the altitude. With that being said, we head now to the top 5. Who will it be? It's the Philadelphia Eagles, as we mentioned a little bit earlier. The Eagles were 3rd last week. They are 2-1. They lost their first game last week at Dallas, 30-29. Now the Eagles dropped 2 spots only. That was a tough loss. When you put 29 points on the board, you do expect, 95% of the time you're going to win that game. But the Dallas Cowboys were up against the wall and put up a 30 when they needed it the most. So it can't really. The Eagle defense was a little leaky, but for the most part, the offense is looking great. So Zucchero is going to run into the Chiefs now in the Andy Reid Bowl, and they'll be hosting the Chiefs at 2-1. Now, again, I said that was too close to call, but the Eagles, if you're at home, you got to get the job done, and you're in the NFC East, and it's not going to get any easier, as you got the G-men and you got the football team who can put up big numbers every week. So, and then you got the Cowboys who just kind of came out of nowhere. So the Eagles are definitely going to want to keep the momentum rolling of the high. They want to keep flying high, as they say, "Fly Eagles fly." But now we head to the final 4 and the top 4, and a big surprise here coming in at number 4. It's the Bears. The Chicago Bears check in at 2-1, up 16 big spots from number 20 last week after a big overtime win at Cleveland, 30-24. Actually, it was 24-24, and they got the tiebreaker. The Bears have been flying under the radar a little bit. They've been hibernating in this league for a while, but definitely are now on notice, as the Bears have been putting up a lot of points and now are on the doorstep of the NFC North lead, and then they can definitely keep that momentum going as they play Detroit at home, who come in at 1-2, and they are a fellow rival in the NFC North. And this game counts double. Division games always count double, as you now have a chance to achieve your own destiny here in the division, which is the biggest thing you need to do. Is you control your own destiny, you move forward, you win your division, and that's all you want. That's what you want to do here. And the Bears, they take care of business on the road, and then now you have a division rival at home, and we'll be looking really good if they can pull this one out. And the Bears gave it all they could the first couple weeks. Their only loss was to a team that is on fire right now, and we're gonna segue into that next team at number 3. It's the Cincinnati Bengals. What? At 2-1, the Bengals move up 16 spots from number 19 last week after a 30-25 win at Pittsburgh. This Bengals team is for real, folks. They earned their stripes. It's the new stripes. It seems like this is not your grandpa's Bengals team. Actually, your grandpa's Bengals team was probably a good team. Like your brother's Bengals team, maybe, because they sucked in the 90s pretty bad. But yeah, the Bengals are getting the job done in the AFC North, and a big win at Pittsburgh, and that got them into the top 3. Next, they will play Jacksonville at home, who's also struggling. But this is on Thursday Night Football, and this is a big matchup. If you're the Bengals, you just want to keep doing what you're doing, but the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to have to find a way to put some points on the board and get the job done against this Bengals team that is really feeling itself right now and looking really good. So there you go, and we'll see if Jason can keep the momentum rolling towards that number 1 spot. But for now, the Bengals are now number 3. As we check in at number 2, who will it be? The number 2 team in the NFL Stableford League in the power rankings is the Miami Dolphins at 3-0. Last week they were number 8. They move up 6 spots, and after a big win at Las Vegas, 27-23, a very impressive win on the road. They got the third win. They kept themselves undefeated in the lead in the AFC East. Cade came back like he never missed anything. It was like they didn't miss a beat, as he was out the first 2 weeks, and now we're glad he's back and talking all that smack on Discord, and we love having him back in the league. And at the end of the day, the Dolphins will now host the Colts, who are 1-2. Now, you don't want to let down, as the Colts are not really doing so hot right now after taking a little bit of a drop this week after their tough loss at Tennessee. But if you're the Dolphins, you just want to keep putting up the points and keep that prolific offense on the field and keep moving that ball, as the Dolphins have made themselves into the story of the NFL Stableford League here in 2021 by vaulting all the way up from the bottom. Yes, it can be done, folks. You can move literally from 30th rank all the way to number 2. It just takes a few weeks, that's all. And that's exactly how Cade and Brandon drew it up, I'm sure. But now that we know the number 2 team, we know the number 1 team, and it's the same number 1 team that we had last week. It's the Minnesota Vikings, who defend their number 1 rank as they stay at 3-0. They moved to 3-0. They go nowhere. They stay right where they are. If they're a big win versus Seattle at home, 28-25. That Seattle team we mentioned earlier, just running into some tough luck against some really good opponents. And now they will face Cleveland. The Vikings will. They'll host Cleveland, who is 1-2. Cleveland is in desperate need of a win, and they know they're playing the number one team now, and the Vikings will have a bullseye. That target will be on their back, and we'll see if the Browns can come into Minnesota and pull off a shocking upset here in week number 4 coming up. So there you have it, folks. It's the Minnesota Vikings of Andrew at the number 1 spot for the second week in a row. Can the Vikings keep this spot, or will someone else move into that number 1 spot? To be the man, you got to beat the man, is what they say. But in the NFL Stableford League, anything can happen. That's the beauty of these power rankings. It's week to week. Nothing is ever guaranteed. So even if you do win, you have to sometimes you have to look good doing it as well, especially when it comes to power rankings. And I am taking into account, some of these point totals and some of the other factors that, if you're playing on the road, is a big factor as well. So, the Browns could definitely move up a ton if they can pull off a big win this week. So, but there you have it, folks. It's the Minnesota Vikings at number 1. Will we keep 2 undefeated teams this week as the Dolphins and Vikings? I mean, maybe one of those teams we thought was going to be undefeated, but the Dolphins, well, hey, stranger things have happened. So, but I hope everybody has a great week 4. Enjoy the new changes to the swing. And I will definitely be back next week with some more NFL Stableford League power rankings. Have a great week 4, everybody. This has been Lefty79, and I hope everybody has a great day and a great week here in the NFL Stableford League. Goodbye, everybody.